Greetings, bloggers, vloggers, followers, and podders. Dustin here from Dustin's Dynasty. Here at you again with another edition of this week's podcast and vlog. If you haven't been following me for a while, my name is Dustin. I'm autistic. I've been on the spectrum in some form or another since 18 months, living over 4 decades, and living, learning, and growing even more as an autistic adult. I've been living on my own for almost 8 years now, in nearly six in the current situation, and been employed for over 16 years. So, without further ado, let's get into this week's vlog and podcast. So, we talked last week about acceptance and how we, as autistic people, want people to meet us where we're at. But what if that was reversed? What if we wanted to meet people where we were at, or they would see something that maybe inspired us, okay? I was never always one to be the impressed one, not to always have the best social faculties, not to always have the best ways of life, or understand that, so having social skills was important. But throughout my adult life, mostly, I've learned and grown. I learned how to master the ever demanding hard thing of being autistic, and that is the eye contact. I know how important it is, and for I'd say over 15 years, or so even 16 years, I've been a master at that. It's not always been easy, but I do it. Um, Likewise, let's talk about, having people, that may have similar challenges or different challenges, or maybe different in their own way. And sometimes as we learn and we grow and where we are in autism, as we know, it is a spectrum of sorts, not only in the autism arena, but whatever disability we may have. As we're segueing into Disability Pride Month, we have to understand that we are just as human as anyone else. And sometimes that means that we have to meet people, treat people just as we wanted to be treated in the world. Even though, I have an associate's degree, I've went to a trade school, all those things. And I've accomplished great things for myself, but I don't boast them. And I don't make them think as in a way that I am better than anyone else. I am no different than any other stranger on the street. And, that doesn't make me any, less, doesn't make anyone else any less. It's learning and growing and being ourselves in our own way, but respecting others for their differences of opinion, differences of how they live their life, and realizing that even though we may want them to follow the way we want to believe, it just isn't always possible. But it's about having them see us how they see us, and seeing sometimes that over the years I have become a shining light into the eyes of my peers. And I think a big part of that is not is getting off the high horse, so to speak, and working to be where everybody else is in the world. That I am no different than anyone else in the world. Whether it's doing my survey work, whether it's, going to day program, whether it's just navigating the street, or going into a business in the community, or going to a restaurant, or going to church, or going to my social club. I am seen as equal as anyone else. And I see everyone else as equal as everyone else. I don't see anybody up on a pillar or down below me just because of their challenges or their struggles that they may have, or that they communicate differently, or that they have trouble communicating, or that they may appear different, or they may navigate the world differently. We're all human, we're all unique in our own way. Um, you know, Sometimes people can be really hard on people, just because, they don't think people who are disabled, people who are challenged, people who have challenges navigating the world that is often not made for us, they don't think we belong in the world sometimes. Sometimes they don't feel we need to have the supports that we need to have. And, even though it takes a lot for us to go out and do the things we need to do and be the person that we need to be, there's still going to be those bad apples who are always going to bring us down or make us feel bad. And for some time, that could have been me too. And just because maybe I wasn't in the best mental faculty, maybe I wasn't in the best mindset, but, it's having those people look up to me and see, the person that I can be and the person that they see me as. And I always refer to the example when I was not acting in the right mind. I let my emotions get a hold of me. I let myself get out of control. And I reacted very badly about a situation several years ago. And as a result, one of the peers who looked up to me very, very dearly and saw how I was reacting to something so small, um, and how I made such a big deal out of something we always do in the autism community, right? And how I reacted and how they saw me and were just shocked and torn about how I reacted and why I was doing that. But when I can hold myself in the common arena, as a person who can make it in this world. And, that really, I think, opened the door to me saying, I can be that shining example that people have known me to be. People can see me as the person who's just like them. When I sit down and I share a group, maybe at day services, or I facilitate a local community support program meeting, or maybe I chair an advocacy meeting, I want to be at that level where I'm not when I'm with my peers or anyone who is challenged in any way by the life that they have, that I'm not no different than anyone else, and they are no different than anyone else. And I will treat them with the same utmost kindness and the same respect that they deserve to have, and not look down on them just because they have issues, they have things that hold them back in life. It's maybe because I've had some family members go through some issues in the past few years, and seeing other people and realizing life is not as horrible as I think it is, nor is it to give me, a reason to say, okay, well, I've done all these great things, and because I've done these great things, I can be better than them, and I can show them that I don't that those the people who maybe not as far as I am in their growth yet, or not see the way that needs to be, that they're less than me. The reality is they maybe need me to share with them, some things, that I do struggle with from time to time, even still as a middle-aged autistic man. There's things I do struggle with. Maybe it's not having a great day. Maybe it's, not doing the things I need to do. Maybe it's sharing a struggle that I had in life, or maybe just something to make me laugh, something to find me have to bring that spirit of a good day and bring that laugh among the peers that we are. And I think that's the big thing when we talk about services and systems and people serving people. It doesn't. It's hard when you have professionals who talk down to us, or just people serving us that talk down to us, making us feel like we're not really people, or that we're not worthy of things. We are people. I mean, autism, disabilities, whatever it may be, we are still human. We still belong in this earth. And just because, you may have an advantage over us by maybe being able to do something for us, doesn't mean you have to talk down on us or make us feel less, or think that just because you're in control doesn't mean that you know you're better than us. Maybe because you feel you have those leadership qualities, it's not about saying, oh, I have leadership qualities and I have to boast them and think that it's my way or the no way. Sometimes it's liking a model of something because it's coming to an agreement, working together, getting to know your peers, building friendships, bonding. Those sort of things matter. And it's not always about feeling angry or sad or wanting to put people down just because they're down and out on life. It's about supporting them. It's about being there for them. It's about sharing, hey, if I was there, what would I tell them to do? What helped me get out of that situation? What made me, what can I share that maybe bring a little light to their day and make them feel a little better about themselves and say, hey, you may be struggling right now, but I've been there and I got you. And if you need to support me, you reach out to me, you talk to me. I'm here for you. It's been a long road for me, and I won't deny that. And there have been moments that I haven't been my best. And sometimes people saw that. And, it was hard. But it opened my eyes more and it made me see that, there is so much potential in myself, but I have to be the one who shows the rest of my peers the right way or the best way to handle things. And sometimes the best way wasn't about doing that, but it's learning, growing, and building from that. And it's being the confident one and showing people, yes, it was a struggle in the beginning, maybe to do something that may have been scary or hard, but we grow from it, we learn from it, we do better. And sometimes we grow more than we even imagine, but we never, we continue to be that humble self who stays, in his own world. And it's just like me and just like and we meet those people. And I think that's one of the key things about the work I do and how I, find how people are satisfied with the things that I survey them about. It's like, well, if I'm going through that, what can help you or what can do, and what can those things be? So I think, those things are helpful. And I think we learn more and more every day. It's not about running away from something we fear, but it's taking, interest in something and being there for those who need us and sharing and understanding they're there too for us when we need them. And regardless or not, of what our values, our beliefs, who we love, who we're interested in, any of that. It doesn't mean just because somebody's this way or this party or whatever, or this way in politics or that way in politics. It's not about that. What it's about is finding, those things that work for us. And sometimes we have to agree to disagree on things. Sometimes we have to let things go that people are a little more passionate about. Sometimes we have to come to common ground and maybe extend that olive branch a little bit and find, learn that people can see good in us, regardless of what our beliefs are, what our challenges are, what our values are, who we love, or anything like that. It's not such a polarized thing. It's not either it's all my way or it's no way, or you have to follow my way, or I'm not going to follow your way. We have to learn to compromise and consent on some things that may help us while not being so stuck on what people don't want to believe about us, what people don't want to follow about us. When we're learning and we're growing and we're becoming more of the person we need to be, we know who sticks there for us. We know who's there to believe us. We know who's there to stand by us. And, even though, it's been over 2 years since my life has changed and my family, those bonds have built better than they ever have. And, it's about knowing who's there to support you in the end. And, it's not about, and again, it's never about being better than someone. It's never about showing, okay, well, you did all these things, so that makes you a great person or the person who is the best. But it's working to mold more of those similar people and show them just because I did it, you can do it too. And, even though you're not where I am today, I was once in your shoes. I was once where you were. And even though it's a little bumpy right now and it's a little hard to manage, and maybe you're coming off, with maybe not having the best social skills, where you're brushing people off, or you're saying things harshly, or you're saying things with no filter, or you're just coming across a rough way. We're here with you. I get it. I've been there. I've done it. And within time, you have to want to learn and grow in yourself. You have to want to do better. You have to be comfortable enough to take that extra little step outside of your comfort zone and do just what you need to do to be the best person you can be. And it may seem like the world's up against you in so many ways today, and there's so much going on in the world, and the world is so polarized, but we have to find what makes us happy. We have to find the people who relate to us, regardless of anything we believe in or want, anything of that. We just have to find somebody who listens to us and is there for us and wants to be with us and wants to entertain our conversation and supports us. It wasn't always that way for me, but as I became independent and then eventually as I started to get well, I saw that, having peers and having people that understood and met me where I was, that's where the common ground had to be met. That took me to extend that olive branch a little bit more and be the person who could be the person who he wanted, yet share the real things that really mattered the most and that really helped people the most. And how they saw me was how maybe there could be more of me, but in their own way. And that, even though people may have a little bit of a challenge where they were, or where I see them maybe 2 decades behind where I am today, they are still people. They are still human. Even though if they're still struggling and can't conceptualize, it's never going to get better, or it seems like it's going to be the same old thing. They are people too. They matter just as much as any other human in the world. We are all human. And in reality, isn't it all about just being kind to people and accepting them for who they are and meeting them where they are? And I think sometimes it takes just being down to earth and being common with people and not showing yourself that you're better than them, or just thinking you don't deserve to be with people who or maybe seem as less than. Because as we all know, a different life is not one less lived. And that in the end, that's really all matter. So with that being said, I'm going to close this weekend. Let's have a good weekend, everyone. But before I do that, let's be sure to like this video, if or this episode. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. A lot of those channels and all those channels are found under my LinkedIn. I'm sorry, not my LinkedIn. I apologize. My Linktree under Dustin's Dynasty. I'm on the web. That address is www.dustinsdynastyusa.com. And lastly, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, X, Pinterest, and TikTok under Dustin's Dynasty. Again, I want you to have an awesome weekend. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe out there. Remember, you matter. You are enough. You are loved. And we'll see you again next time. Thank you very much, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.